Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TUBEBUDDY. I've used TUBEBUDDY for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TUBEBUDDY is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TUBEBUDDY and level up your channel faster. We working. Terrence Crawford sounds a bit fed up and starts walking away when he was asked too many questions about Errol Spence. He said he's not really worried about that. If it happens, it happens. And he also talks about what his preferred fight is between Porter and Manny Pacquiao. It's up to my fight with the Bud Crawford. I'm gonna talk about all that and more in this here video. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. Before I get started, make sure you guys install TUBEBUDDY. Click the link in the description to set up TUBEBUDDY. It's a browser extension. If you are interested in starting a YouTube channel, or you know someone that's starting a YouTube channel, it's a great resource to help build your YouTube. I've personally used TUBEBUDDY for years on my channel. It's helped me, and it's a great tool. They have a lot of features that YouTube doesn't have baked in. So use my link in the description to get TUBEBUDDY. It's a great way to kickstart your channel and level up your content. Now, Terrence Crawford, he did an interview. Link will be in the description, and he sounded overall kind of fed up and over it, if you will, when the questions started being asked about Errol Spence. Before that, he talked about his next fight and what's next. He did say this: "I don't know." This is a direct quote. "I don't know. Both of them are great fights." And he was referring to his promoter working on a Pacquiao or maybe even a Sean Porter fight. He says he don't know. Both of them are great fights. He says, "I prefer the Manny Pacquiao fight over the Sean Porter fight. Sean Porter is a great fight in his own right, and I'm going to be ready for whichever one comes to fruition. I don't know. I really can't say. All I could do is prepare myself for the best of my abilities and be ready for whatever is put in front of me." He said both of them have their own strong points. Manny is fast moving and can punch. Sean Porter is aggressive, tough, and durable. I can't say what Sean Porter will try to do. I can't say what he will or wouldn't do. You know me, I'm whatever." Now, here's where things got real interesting. The interviewer started asking questions, Fight Hype started asking questions about Errol Spence. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Terrence Crawford kind of rolled his eyes like, "Oh, brother, like here we go again." And his mood kind of shifted. You guys click the link in the description and you watch it. And he sounded kind of like annoyed with the line of questioning. And the reporter said something to the effect of, "You said you didn't need the Errol Spence fight." And he repeated, quote, "I don't need that fight. I'm not worried about that fight." Then he doubled down. He says, "I'm not worried about that fight," meaning the Errol Spence fight. "I'm not worried about that fight. I done told y'all numerous times now. I'm not even worried about that fight. You will never see me asking for that fight again. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I don't care." End quote. Wow. I think Terrence Crawford, he's probably early 30s, 33, 34 maybe. And I think he's now finally coming to the realization that what people have been saying and, versus what he's been saying regarding being the A side, particularly with Errol Spence, is not true. And I've said this on my channel, Ego Stradamus strikes again. I'll continue to say the same things and beat it into your head. I believe Crawford is a top pound for pound type of fighter. He's skilled. He's a beast. I don't know who would win between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Now, since I gave you guys that full disclosure and transparency, with that being said, Terrence Crawford began to bark up a tree that he ultimately couldn't win, because we were talking about not just skills or, old school boxing. And what I mean by old school is, at the end of the day, you have to deal with the evolution. Like, you have Blockbuster and you have Netflix. When I was growing up, Blockbuster was the thing to do. They had commercials on TV and it said, make it a Blockbuster night. You don't see those commercials running anymore. Instead, people say Netflix and chill, right? Where's Blockbuster? Where's Netflix? Netflix, $1 trillion company or whatever they're worth. They keep expanding and they have a ton of creatives working for them. Netflix original series. Meanwhile, Blockbuster Video, look this up, is renting out. There's only one location, I think, that is even open in the United States, and they're renting it out as an Airbnb with a Blockbuster movie night theme. And they're renting it out to people who want to, that nostalgia. So both companies at the current juncture, there's been an evolution. But at the time, in the 90s, Blockbuster was the king, and they were like worth 500 billion or 500 million or whatever, and Netflix was only worth 50 million. You guys could look all this stuff up. And Netflix had a meeting with Blockbuster, and they got laughed out of the meeting. There is a famous story about how they got their start. But ultimately, Netflix innovated. They had the mail to order movies, and then they later expanded before and went to the online streaming, and it kind of changed the whole landscape. Now, again, the reason I told you guys this whole analogy is because it deals with an evolution. We could continue and act like going to a movie theater and renting a movie and having to return it and drop it off and get hit with a bunch of late fees is the new norm, and act like Blockbuster is the way that content and movies are consumed. Or you could look to where it's currently at. You do have red boxes, but again, it's $1. It's not a brick and mortar where you walk into a store. It's a little dispenser box, like a vending machine, right? And then you have the Netflixes, the Disney Pluses, the HBO Maxes, and the Hulu, etc. So you can never forget where you are. It doesn't matter necessarily just the evolution of where things were years ago. And I think Terrence Crawford is a throwback fighter, but what he was arguing for is also kind of like archaic throwback boxing, and I hate when people do this in the world of boxing, because you have to be realistic. At the end of the day, Ray Robinson, arguably one of the greatest fighters, if not the greatest fighter to ever grace, this great sport. But things are different. He used to fight and then hold up the whole fight over pay because he wasn't getting paid enough or he wanted more money. He would fight every 2 weeks, multiple times a month and stuff. You just don't really see that with the superstars of today. It's a whole different game. I mean, even from when Muhammad Ali was fighting, Muhammad Ali has some of his famous fights were 15 rounders, right? They don't do 15 rounders anymore. Back in the day, they did same day weigh-ins. They don't do that anymore. Right now, fighters, their walk around weight is something crazy, 20 to 50 pounds heavier than what they campaign at. Back in the day, fighters were probably closer to their walk around weight was closer to their fight campaign weight, right? Guys like Rocky Marciano, he was considered a heavyweight, but he weighed 188, 189 pounds, so to speak. Now, I said all that to say this, things change. And for Terrence Crawford, no matter how good of a fighter he is, he has to get in front of his business, which has always been the problem. He's kind of a low-key guy, and he was saying that he's the A-side over Errol Spence and these types of things, and I just didn't see that as being true. And now it sounds like he's coming to the realization that this is not, in fact, true, and he may not get what he's looking for. Pacquiao, they're saying he could fight Ryan Garcia, Mikey Garcia. He could fight Errol Spence. He has options. He might fight you guys. Who knows? Who knows who he's going to fight? Maybe it's Crawford. But Pacquiao also said he wanted $40 million to fight Crawford. So I don't know. It depends on, if they could pony up. And I don't know if that's feasible because all of Crawford's other opponents have been getting offers like 1 million, 2 million, stuff like that. So Pacquiao wanting 40 million against a guy who hasn't had a booming pay-per-view. I don't know if the logistics to that makes sense. So now you have Terrence Crawford, who just went from saying that he deserves the lion's share and he's done more than Errol Spence in his little career, and Errol Spence needs to catch up, and I don't need Errol Spence needs me, to him now saying, I'll never ask, this is a direct quote, watch the video, quote, I'll never ask for the Spence fight again. So to me, that sounds like a fighter that is dejected. It sounds like a fighter that is discouraged, and a fighter that is just overall disenchanted and a bit jaded, maybe with the politics, and it sounds like he's over it. Again, how do you go from saying I'm the A side, 60-40 my way, 50-50 my way, let's make it an even split, I deserve that, I've done more than you, I got to better this and that, and I was undisputed, to now saying you're never going to ask for the fight that you said you wanted. The other bad side for this, and the bad news for this, is Terrence Crawford has already played this card. He's done this like good cop, bad cop, passive aggressive thing before, where he said, I'm not going to mention Errol Spence, I don't care. And to which Errol Spence has been on record. Go watch the videos, go listen to his demeanor, listen to Errol Spence when he was being asked after the Danny Garcia performance. Media is trying to bait him into asking about the Errol Spence Terrence Crawford fight, and Errol Spence was like, oh, I'm not worried about that. I want to see my kids. I just fought. Terrence Crawford, he said he don't need me, so why keep talking about me? And that's kind of the Errol Spence's demeanor. He says, you said you don't need me, you're bigger than me, and I need you, and you're not going to talk about it, so why you keep mentioning me? And maybe fan feedback or something got back to Crawford, which is now why he's saying what he's saying, and he's getting tired of answering these questions. But either way, it doesn't sound like the person that he depicted in terms of being in the leverage. Like, usually you don't hear the A side say stuff like this, like, oh, he just sounds fed up. There's no other sweet way to put it. I'll never ask for the Spence fight again. Like, what does that mean? And either way, this is just a lot of pressure, and it's kind of a weird take, to be honest, because now if somebody asks you about Errol Spence, or you feel like talking about it, then you're gonna have to go against your word. And as a man, you have to be kind of congruent with what you say. So either he's really and truly gonna never ask for that fight again, or he's gonna contradict himself and really start talking about it again. So it's just kind of a weird stance, especially if your goal is to be undisputed. You're going to have to see Errol Spence. Errol Spence could have an opportunity to collect another belt if he could beat you guys, which is a ready-made fight they could definitely make. So it's weird. It's kind of a weird take that Crawford is basically saying, I'm not worried about that fight. I done told y'all numerous times, I'm not worried about it. You will never see me asking for that fight again. It's like almost like he's pouting, like, he has his fingers or his arms crossed, like it's not going well for me, so whatever, I'm over it. But this is just my personal take. Let me know what you guys feel. Crawford went from saying he's the A side, he deserved the split. I don't know if someone talked to him or if the fan pressure. I don't really know. You have to ask Crawford. But it just sounds like he's upset and he's tired of the comparisons and that being brought up, because as he was being asked about Errol Spence, if you watch, you could physically see he's almost done with the interview and he's like walking away. So watch the clip. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what's next for Terrence Crawford. Do you think he'll get the Pacquiao fight, Sean Porter, or do you think an Errol fight can happen next? Either way, I think, like I've been saying, the walls are kind of closing in for Terrence Crawford, just based on not him being a bad fighter or anything, just based on the business and the landscape and personal choices and who he's networked with and who he's clung to and who he's continued to work with. That's it. You could get mad at everyone else, or you gotta, own what you've done. You teamed up with Top Rank, you signed an extension, and you knew they didn't have long-term, the people that you would need to fight or that you wanted to fight to be undisputed like you did at 140. So you don't really have anyone else to blame. So it'll be interesting to see what's the next move for Terrence Crawford. You know, he's still a terrific, hell of a fighter. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Also sign up for TUBEBUDDY. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.